queer, unfit for active duty, and Tybalt Canty, morbidly obese, unfit for active duty. I happened to be slightly flat-footed, although not in any obvious way. In fact, I didn't even know it until I enlisted and had the medical. I wouldn't have been accepted anyway. Entertainers, particularly first-class ones, were considered a reserved profession. What we offered was more than a bag of flesh to stop a bullet. Despite Annie Hudson's frequent suggestion that, in view of its personnel, playing a scene with the power players was like working in a field hospital, we were a professional outfit. Everybody had been connected in some way with the business before the war. Theatre was in our blood, no matter how small or large our parts had been. Tybalt Canty, to choose just one of the troupe, the largest one, as it happens, had had quite a successful career in radio, although his real love was the kitchen, and he had trained under some of the best chefs in Europe. Unfortunately, he couldn't appear as his character when it was mooted to put his radio show on the stage. Listeners thought he was a 25-year-old dentist, lean and smouldering, with coal-black hair and crisp blue eyes. The sight of a 40-year-old obese man with thinning, dirty yellow hair was considered too disillusioning, even in the early days of the war. He was replaced on stage, and afterwards his replacement slipped into his radio part too. That freed him up to join my company. In 1942, I was in my prime. I was a serious actor. Whether I was a great actor is for others to judge. I have learned, though, to take the judgments of others with a grain of salt. I have presence. I can hold the stage. I can drag an audience to its feet with the lift of an eyebrow. I have elegant eyebrows, shaped by nature, not by tweezers. I looked like Tyrone Power, no relation, only finer, not so swarthy, high-browed, bluer-eyed. When the power players arrived in Maryborough, the war was going badly. American soldiers were everywhere down south and causing trouble. A man named Leonsky had been charged with the Brownout murders in Melbourne. He'd strangled 3 women and was going to hang. We all talked about it, and I thought the time was right to do a grand guignol piece of our own devising about the wickedness of human nature. The mass murderer would be a Eurasian with impeccable credentials. He wouldn't be unmasked until the final scene, when we learned that his mother was Japanese and his father was German. No one in the troupe thought it was a very good idea. Annie Hudson, who I thought might jump at the chance to play 3 different victims in the one piece, said it was a particularly lousy idea. I suspected she realized that it was outside her range. The power players travelled everywhere by truck. We had been allocated 15,000 miles annually for travel, and we had to be careful not to exceed them. With theatrical runs that were much shorter than expected, we found ourselves on the move a great deal, and it's surprising how quickly we ate up those miles. Strictly speaking, it was Annie's truck. She had paid for it with the money she'd made from her advertisements, and she'd made quite a few. They were print advertisements mostly, and drew on her resemblance to Greer Garson, a rather low-rent version of Greer Garson, but she certainly resembled her. She'd also done a couple of radio spots. You only had to ask her, and she'd tell you all about it. In 1942, she peered out at you from every magazine and newspaper you picked up. She was Connie, the bad breath girl in the Colgate advertisement. There she was, looking all wide-eyed and lonely in the first frame, and saying, "I'd like to go places and do things." That would be okay, she is advised, but first check up on your breath. All it takes to turn poor Connie into a social success is a quick brush with Colgate dental cream. I'm in that ad, too, in the last frame where Connie is pictured smiling at 2 tuxedoed admirers, apparently breathing in the mint-masked effluvium from Connie's mouth. I'm the one with his back to the camera. The moron who managed to get his face shown gave the photographer a blowjob. There are some things I won't do. It's a matter of class. That's where I met Annie, on the Bad Breath Girl photo shoot. I was setting up the power players in Melbourne at the time, and I offered her a place, promising her all the leading lady parts. When she said that she would buy a truck, the deal was sealed. Later, though, her pointed reminders as to who owned the vehicle made me think that I had paid a high price indeed for transport. She claimed that the only reason people came to see us at